Hi everyone, how are you doing? Today I'm going to do an advanced study, well, more like an intermediate one, for you about the knight versus the bishop. So which one should we choose? When you're just starting out, sometimes you think they're the same. Because when we're learning, we learn that the value of the knight and the bishop is 3 points, right? And this, for those who are just starting out, is very important for people to understand so they can get a sense of exchanges. But later on, we need to understand that the bishop and the knight are different. It depends on the position, it depends on the pawn structure, and you need to know which one is more valuable than the other. So you simply shouldn't be exchanging pieces without knowing what's happening in your position, without analyzing whether it's beneficial for you to trade a knight for a bishop. And this study here today is very important because in total you have 2 bishops and 2 knights. You have 4 pieces, and these pieces are in a way much more than your rooks, right? And much more than his lady. So if you organize your bishops and knights well, you'll be able to have a much better understanding of the game and play much better if you know where to position them and know whether or not you should exchange them, okay? So let's start here by first analyzing this initial position. I removed the other pieces so we can see that in the starting position, if I only had white bishops against knights, we would already have an advantage, right? 0.4. And what I want to tell you then is that actually the bishop isn't worth 3 points and the knight 3 points as well. We have a kind of rounding, so the bishop will be worth about 3 points, right? There are exceptions, but most of the time it would be worth 3.33. The bishop is more valuable than the knight. This is here I'm showing you this initial position. See? What would it be like if you only had a bishop and you only had a knight? This little advantage it shows here, yeah? It really reflects what I'm trying to tell you. Alright? Shall we go to the second case? If I put only a knight here and only a bishop here for black, even though I'm starting, even though white has the first move, black is better, see? Minus 0.2, averaging it out from about 0.4 to 0.2, it would be around 0.3. That's what I was telling you about. Alright? So black is a little better here, even though white starts in the first position. Now look at what I've set up for you. I set it up here so that if you put only bishops here on the bottom side against only knights for black, look, so you can see how big the difference is, right? It's going to increase a lot. So it's as if you take 0.3, right? 0.33, 0.35 more or less, times the amount you have here, okay? Which is 7. That will give you about 3 times 33, 3.5 or so, times 7, which will give you roughly this difference that will add up here in the end. Each one 0.35, each of them will give you this amount in the end. Alright guys? Yeah, so you can see that little by little, but when you're playing a master level game, when you're playing a well thought out match, this makes all the difference, right? So to start here, let's show it in a Ruy Lopez. The opponent played by chasing away, right, your bishop. You shouldn't be trading here because you're still at the beginning of the game. Everything's fine. If you trade, look here to see the advantage. You just threw away 0.2. You might think, oh, but it's just a little bit. No, but if you keep giving away a little bit with each of your pieces, losing 0.2, 0.3, in the end you're giving up a whole point of advantage. Then you don't even know, wait, why am I worse in the game when I didn't do anything really wrong? You're already giving up your bishop, which is better than your knight, right? So here, this is a very clear example of why you shouldn't be trading at the beginning of the game, since the bishop is worth more. Here I'm showing you another situation where it depends, right? It depends. It's not always that it's worth more. In this case, we have the knights, and this knight here will be able to maneuver to reach this square over here. And sometimes, even though the game is closed, you might be calculating some sacrifice at some point, I don't know, like maneuvering the knight to come here later, do something like that. Even with the game being closed, even with the game technically being a draw, at some point you might be able to take a knight and make some kind of move here, breaking into your opponent's position. While they can't do the same, they'll have to sacrifice if they want to do anything. So even though it's technically a draw, in this situation the knight is worth more. In the game, when the pawn structure is closed like this, right? What do we call closed? When everything is blocked, everything is blocked. There are no open pawns, there aren't any open files for the rooks to enter. So when you have a closed structure, the knight is worth more than the bishops, alright? Look, in this position here, even though this square is unprotected, the knight is still going to be worth more. Why is that? Because the bishop is right here in the corner, it's not active, it's passive, and it's on the same color as my pawns. It's as if it's locked in. My knight will be able to get active and then capture all the pieces, right? His bishop is blocked. It's as if it's not even playing. There's no way for it to be active here. So in this situation too, the knight is worth more, right? Take a look at this situation, everyone. It's similar to that other one. In an endgame, look, you reach an endgame that seems like it's a draw, but it's not. Normally the bishop is worth 0.3. And why is that? Because it can move to both sides. The knight, on the other hand, is slow, right? If you manage to trade these pawns or leave them here and there are pawns on both sides, the bishop will be able to operate on both sides. It can make this move here, look. If this bishop is here, he can act in these houses. So in the long run it will be better, right? So we can see that the bishop in an endgame, even if it seems equal to a knight, the knight is slow. For the knight to get to the other side, it takes a long time to make all those moves, while the bishop, in a single move, can cross the entire board. Another situation, right? Same thing, I remove the pawn, same thing, right? The bishop will have more mobility, it will be quicker to move. In this case, since everything is open and we don't have those pawns, it's preferable for you to have a bishop. It may seem like a small advantage, but it comes down to that endgame where if the person makes a wrong move, they have to play everything perfect. If they make a wrong move, you can win, okay? And another thing, because if you end up here in a knight endgame, you can only checkmate if your opponent helps you. Alright, look, let's show a checkmate here. Of course, the opponent would move here, here, and even the computer says it's a draw. But if they play it wrong, then you can checkmate them. But even so, that will only happen if your opponent helps you and plays incorrectly. Logically, they'll move away from here and you won't be able to checkmate, because they can always escape, and this checkmate will never happen if your opponent is strong. Unlike bishops, why do bishops have this higher value? Because if you end up with just with the bishops, you'll be able to checkmate much more easily. Alright? Take a look. Check, you block here, right, block here too, and they're forced to move over here. Checkmate. So with the bishops, the checkmate is forced, not with horses. There's that difference as well. Why is the pair of bishops more valuable? First of all, because of this, the distance they can cover on the board, their speed, and the fact that they can deliver checkmate. They can control a much larger area more quickly with greater speed, and they can deliver checkmate, whereas the pair of knights can't unless the opponent helps. Alright, everyone, that's it. That was our lesson for today. Thanks to everyone who watched. If you enjoyed the videos, we're trying to get more subscribers and I'm making a lot of cool content for you all. Give it a thumbs up. It really, really, really helps me out. And share the video, show it to someone who's just starting to learn too, who needs these concepts. Leave a comment here if you're enjoying it. Say something like, hey, I'm really loving the videos. That would mean a lot to me, alright? Thank you so much to everyone who watched up to this point. Thanks.